So, question, how could we not, as a humanity, be totally conscious of this amazing phenomena that is unquestionably real?
Wow.
I mean, I'm biasing this interview totally, but of course I'm biased about it, so I'm just going to go for it.
Well, yeah, I agree. The crop circle phenomenon, I think, is a very profound and important
absolutely.
situation. And
how did you, let me just ask you, how did you get to the point of wanting to do a documentary about it?
Well, it was a long process, actually. You know, I think one of the things about the crop circles is that because it is such a profound departure from what we know in terms of our everyday lives, it took quite some time for me to really commit to it. I first heard about the crop circles in 1991. That was my first exposure to them. And I attended a lecture in Santa Monica, California.
With Michael Glickman?
Well, no, it was actually before I didn't meet Michael Glickman until '97. Now, this was with sort of the earlier generation, Busty Taylor and George Wingfield and some of the older British researchers who at the time were doing probably one of the first tours of the U.S. telling Americans about this mysterious phenomena they had been researching and archiving and documenting in southern Britain.
And Busty was the pilot, wasn't he?
Yeah,
that you'd fly over the fields and photograph them?
Busty is in my film and was one of a very small group of mostly men, British gentlemen, mostly professionals. Colin Anders, I believe, was an electrical engineer. George Wingfield was a computer designer, a computer engineer. So these were educated people who had come across this in the fields of southern England and knew that it was something, you know, very unique and very unusual, and had spent a lot of time documenting it. And they did this tour and they did these lectures here in the United States in 1991. And I went to one of these lectures. I think I saw something at a bookstore, a flyer or something. I went down and watched, and I was very intrigued. And one of the things I was intrigued the most by was the images themselves, the symbols themselves, because they sort of fall in between the cracks. They look familiar, but they look completely new. They have an appearance of an astonishing. There's something about them that I found very astonishing, and at the same time a little jarring, because I couldn't quite place them. I couldn't fit them into a comfortable space. You know, even though I didn't feel scared by them, there was no fear, but I couldn't quite get comfortable with them immediately. And so I left that lecture thinking to myself, you know, this is very interesting. There's something going on here that, you know, because I like that kind of stuff. I like things that are different and, you know, kind of out of the box. And I didn't know nearly as much as certainly as I do now as far as the relationship between the crop circle phenomena and our consciousness, as an example. And they didn't really appeal to me in terms of the artistic side. Even that I've only recently grown in appreciation for. But it was something that was very different. And I spent, you know, most of the 1990s just kind of on the sidelines.
Was it the unexplainability of it that intrigued you?
Yeah. It was the mystery of it.
Yeah.
And it was the potential extraterrestrial connection or extraterrestrial association also that interested me. And so I spent most of the 1990s kind of by the wayside, by the sidelines, and seeing what would come across my path as far as information, because I was a little suspicious. You know, I was suspicious that, well, maybe they're man-made, or maybe it's a military satellite ray gun experiment or something, you know, maybe it's just, I thought if there's something about it that is deceptive, that'll rise to the surface, because these things, people always have a tendency, if they're trying to deceive, they trip up, they make a mistake, and the truth comes out.
It's never consistent.
Right, they can't be that together. Well, by the time we got to the late 1990s, nothing had happened. There was nothing like that had crossed my path. And I was pretty much comfortable at that point with thinking, you know, this is really, really worthwhile.
So it had been years, really, before you decided to jump in.
That's right. And in the meantime, I had met Michael Glickman, who is one of the foremost geometers or analysts of the geometry of the crop circles. And that was a big turning point for me, as a matter of fact. He was actually the very first crop circle researcher that I ever met.
Well, he was the first one I met, too.
Yeah,
he was the first guest I had on the show for crop circles.
Very interesting, yes. And he is actually one of the world-renowned researchers in this field. Quite a, you know.
Well, you highlight him beautifully in your documentary.
Yeah. He's the godfather.
The godfather, crop circle godfather.
Yeah. So that's how I got into it. You know, it was a long, sort of slow process.
Well, I know that you brought a wonderful clip tape tonight, which are excerpts from the documentary.
Very good.
And I think perhaps the best way to approach it maybe would begin with a clip.
Yes.
Would you like to do that now, or would you like to share anything else before we go into the clips?
No, I'd love to see the clip. This, as I recall, this first clip is, we're going to see a Charlie Mallet, who is one of the local people in southern England, and he is a field worker. He goes out and measures them and takes measurements and whatnot and photographs and takes them back to somebody like Michael Glickman, who then analyzes the image.
Right.
And he is talking to us from the field in 2001 in the largest crop circle that's ever appeared.
Wow.
Which was 409 circles, and it was like as big as 2 football fields.
Wow.
It's a magnificent piece.
Good. So we're going to roll the clip here. So stay tuned here to the Paradigm Shift. We have filmmaker William Gazecki, and we're going to see a clip on the crop circles from his new documentary film.
People are saying this is the most amazing formation that's ever hit the deck, and I would kind of agree with them, really. It's the biggest, the most expansive, smashed all records for numbers of circles and geographical spread. Everything about it is like the absolute pinnacle, almost, of the whole, 20 years or so. When I first walked into this thing, so vast, I had absolutely no idea of what I was standing in, just like a sea of circles covering a large proportion of the field. It took us half hour to find the center. It gives one a fairly good impression of the scale of this thing, and that's after looking at hundreds of circles over the years, so we're pretty familiar with geometric shapes and patterns in a field and figuring them out. But this one, I mean, I ask you, 409 circles. That's a tall order by anyone's standard. It was raining all night. The night this formation came down. This is a high altitude location. This takes a battering by the weather. We were the first ones in here when this formation arrived. No footprints, no mud, no broken plants. All the centers were perfect. No sign of human activity or entry into this field at all. I've seen the result of a team of people or a gang of people smashing around in a cornfield all night. They make a hell of a mess. You just can't help it. It's a matter of fact. This was totally inconsistent with everything I know about human-made crop circles. You can't do that in a cornfield. Just hit the deck perfectly first time round. No errors, no mistakes, no glitches. It's just here, and it arrived in a few hours in perfect condition.
Wow.
Yeah, it's magnificent.
That is magnificent and quite astounding. It just inspires me every time I see them.
Yeah.
So what are the scientists and the experts and the folks in the know saying about these circles, about the crop circles?
About the phenomenon? Well, at this point, it's, we're in a pretty good position as far as being able to have a nice, credible, balanced perspective to a degree. What has been found so far, I think they've been testing the plants and the soils now for about 10 years or so. And there was some of that done in the 1980s, but most of the bulk of the plant and mineral research has been done in the 1990s and to date. Mm-hmm. And basically it's very clear that there are changes that occur to the plants that are a part of a crop circle formation. Mm-hmm. It's clear that there is some form of heat involved, or it appears that there's some form of heat involved. There's a number of different things that have been found on the plants consistently which indicate not only heat, but a very, very high temperature, possibly in the...
Like a microwave?
Well, they don't know. That's one of the analogies that is brought out, is perhaps it's microwave-ish, but they don't know. What they know is that heat is present. Mm-hmm. The plants are never burned.
And they're not really damaged in that they will grow out, and then the farmer can harvest them, correct?
No, they're not damaged at all. No, there's no damage done to the plants. The reason they know that heat is involved is because of the effects of steam. And obviously, for the moisture in the plants to become steam, heat has to be applied.
I see.
And the reason they know steam is involved, it's the very segments of the plants expand or explode when the formations are made. Ah. And that's one of the ways in which you can tell if a formation is an authentic formation.
And yet it doesn't damage the plant.
Well, no, it does not damage the plant to the point where it can't grow. No.
Right,
The
okay.
plant can continue to grow. And the farmer does harvest them. So they know heat is involved.